Hi, it's V with Crafting Daily Dose, and today I have another alternative for the July 2023 Paper Pumpkin Kit called Fun in the Sun. As you can see, it uses a lot of the same pieces as this card from the kit. But instead of letting the front of the card have all the fun, I've brought some of those pieces to the inside so that we've got a little pop-up here that can stand up on its own for display that way, as well as standing propped up like this, like it was originally intended. I'm so excited to share this card with you, so let's get started. The pieces that we're using are pretty much the same ones as the original card. I've got the card base here, and it's important that you start out with it flat. Don't try to fold this up yet because we'll do that together. We've got this back panel and then the front panel and then all these little die cuts for decoration. So here is the Adirondack chair. It's white, so let me pick it up so you can see. Then we've got the sign, the flip-flops, the sunglasses, and the seashell. Now this little piece here comes from the flap of the envelope because I couldn't resist this pretty rainbow stripe. But if you want to use your envelopes the way that they are, then you can save it and just leave out that part. If you do cut it, it's going to be 2.5 inches by about 1.25 inches, or just pretty much the height of those stripes. Now I am going to be using the Daffodil Delight ink from the kit, but I'm stamping the sentiments with the coordinating Azure Afternoon ink. So let's begin with that step. I've got 2 pieces to stamp up, and I'm working on top of the chipboard that came with the kit. This is going to give me a little extra cushion underneath. I've chosen the Waving Hello sentiment, and I'm going to stamp that directly onto this layer. If you're nervous about that, you can stamp it onto a banner instead, or if you make a mistake, you can always use the banner to cover it up. And now the same thing with the sign. I'm going to stamp directly onto that too. Since the Adirondack chair is now going to be on the inside of the card, there won't be any contrast between the white chair and the white background on the inside. So we're going to remedy that by coloring this in. And I'm choosing to use the Daffodil Delight ink from the kit, but of course you can make it any color that you'd like. And remember, on the instruction sheet, there is a list of coordinating colors here on the back to give you some ideas about what other colors could work. The easiest thing to do is just to apply the ink directly onto the chair. And I'm working on top of this chipboard because it's easy for me to go ahead and recycle this piece when I'm done. You just want to be careful not to rub too vigorously on the parts that are kind of skinny because you don't want to get them crumpled up. So I'm just going to press down. And I'm going to turn it this way just because it's easier for me to hold with my left hand and apply the ink with my right hand since I'm right-handed. And you're going to get some unevenness like this. There's going to be some streaking, but because I'm doing it in this direction, it's almost a little bit like wood grain. Or you can use a blending brush or a sponge dauber to apply it if you want the look to be a little bit more even. So I'm just going to flip this over to the other side just to show you what I mean. I'm circling around on that so that I can pick up some ink onto my brush, and then I'm very lightly making little swirls. This is giving a smoother look, and I can gradually build up the intensity of the color until it's the way that I want. So here is the smoother look, and then here is the direct to paper look, and I think I'm going to go with this one. Now we're using this card base from the kit, but we're going to make a little bit of an adjustment. On this side there are several score lines, and we're only going to use some of them, but we're going to create an additional one of our own right here. So let me show you how I did that. Start by rotating the card base counterclockwise so that now that printed sun is down at the bottom. You're going to place this at the 3-inch mark, and you are basically going to create a score line from the cut down here, which is at about 3.5 inches, to the top. So again, place this edge at 3 inches. Make sure that you're using the lighter scoring blade and that you have moved this darker cutting blade safely out of the way. Place this down at about 3.5 inches. And then you're going to press down on the paper and score up. And after you've done that, you're going to have an additional score line right there. Okay, let's fold this card base together. We are going to skip this first original score line, and we are going to fold along the new one that we just created, and that is going to be a mountain fold. So I'm going to put my finger underneath that score line, and I'm going to use my other hand to kind of press down around it to get that fold started. Now I'm going to skip these next two, and then I'm going to get to this one here, and this is going to be a valley fold. So I'm going to press my finger down on it, and then from underneath I'm using my other hand to push the paper up around it, and that's going to help me start that fold. And then this bottom one down here, this is going to be another mountain fold. So it's going to go like this. So now that we've got all those started, we can kind of collapse it together. And then I've got the fold on this side. This is going to be a mountain fold. Let me show you what that all looks like. Once you've got everything compressed down, it looks like this. Now I'm going to use my bone folder to reinforce everything. Give you another view here. Here's what it looks like standing up, and here's what it looks like from the side. So we've skipped these two original score lines, plus we've skipped this one back here, and we've only used our new one, and then these two right here. Next, we're going to add this layer, but we're not going to add it to this back portion here. We're instead going to add it to the very front of the card. And the reason for that is if we add it here to the back, you can see that when I flip this open, watch what happens down here. This part is going to extend beyond this flat edge of the card. And that means that the card won't be able to sit when it's in this open position. But if I take this and I add it to the front instead, when it opens, it's still flat down here, and so the card is going to be able to sit this way. And since we're adding some interest on the inside, we want the option for it to stay open this way as well for display. So let's go ahead and add this to the front. Now, if I line up the bottom edges, my stripes going across here are not going to match. So I'm going to have to raise it up slightly. The easiest way for me to do this is to put some glue or some tear and tape along this top edge here. Then I'm going to take my panel, and on the back of it, I'm going to put some glue on the bottom edge. That way when I put them together, I'm going to have glue in all the places where it needs to be. So I'm going to line up those stripes as best as I can. And I'm going to set this down so I can work with it more easily. I'm going to scooch it around a little bit till those stripes line up nicely. And then I'll press down and let that set up. Now don't worry about this gap down here, because now we're going to add on this panel and that's going to cover it up. So I'm going to put glue on this bottom section. And then a little bit behind that bucket of sand. I don't want that to necessarily flop around, but I'm fine with having the umbrella be able to move a little bit. So here I'm lining up the corners, using my fingers to make sure that those corners are lined up and the bottom edge. And there is the front of the card. And now we get to decorate the inside. So let's open it up, and as you can see, it stands on its own. I'm going to start with this little sign here, and I'm going to glue it to this panel, like so. And remember, you have mini glue dots from the kit if you prefer to use those. Now here comes that cool looking chair. I'm going to glue that next to my sign, but obviously I only want glue on this portion here, not the part here that's not attached to anything. So just as a reminder to myself, I'm going to hold my finger there so I can't put glue on it, and I'm only going to put it on this section. Now I'll get some glue on these little legs here because they're kind of skinny and I don't want them to lift up. Now, if you're using this optional piece of the envelope, here's where that comes in. I'm going to take it, I've decided to put the blue side at the top here, and I'm just going to make a random fold backwards at a diagonal, kind of like this, just random. And then I'm going to make another random diagonal fold forwards. And this is going to represent my little towel. So something like that. And I'm going to take my bone folder. I'll curl it up a little bit on the ends, just so it looks a little bit more like it's got the movement of fabric. Lay it down like this, and I'll add glue. Now, if you'll notice, part of what I'm doing with this towel is I'm covering up this cut here. This was a cut that was originally in the card, and since we're using the score lines differently, we're going to end up with a little cut here that I'm going to partially cover up with the towel. I'm also going to use the flip-flops for the same purpose. So even if you chose not to have this piece here, you can do the same thing with the flip-flops. I've got the little sunglasses, and I think I'm going to set them down at the other end of the towel. And here's what the inside of the card looks like. So we've really brought in a lot of those elements. You still have room to write your message, but it's a little bit more interesting on the inside now. I'm going to close this up and come back to the front because I'm going to add my remaining seashell here. And it looks like I need to reinforce those folds again to get them to lie flatter. And then I'll add a few of those embellishments from the kit. Here's our finished card. We still have a beautiful scene on the outside and the card still stands up for display. But now we've also added interest to the inside and it can be propped up that way as well. So now the card is twice as special. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you've enjoyed this dose of creativity. If you get a chance to try out this project, I would love to see it. So share it in my Facebook group or tag me if you're sharing elsewhere. If you're interested in Paper Pumpkin but don't yet have a demonstrator, you can find the subscription link as well as all of my other links in the description box below. I look forward to crafting with you again next time, and until then, have a great day.